Hello and welcome to the WrestleMania 41 Night 1 review. I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture, joined by another one of the Dudley boys, Michael Hamflett from WhatCulture, here in the beautiful Aurora bar in the wonderful Luxor Hotel, because anything's possible in the pyramids. Here to review Night 1 of WrestleMania 41. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we review Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0, AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a round of the week, complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, though, joined by Michael Hamflett to review Night 1 of WrestleMania 41. What did you make of last night's show?
Oh, sorry, you caught me just perusing the fantastic drinks menu at the Aurora bar inside.
This martini.
Well, this is it, you see. I'm looking, and normally they've got this fabulous range of cocktails and beers and all the amazing things you can get here. But, I don't know, it must all be teas and coffees, because apparently that's boiling hot again. Getting temperature checks over the last few days. And people think they're being kind of smart about it. How do you feel now? Everything's boiling hot, and it's not just because of the flaming volcano in the sky that hangs over Las Vegas every single day. No, WrestleMania was a good show. Sorry, a great show without a great match. That's what I'm... Right. Well, we're going to have a lot of disagreements then. No, I will say that nothing... I don't think in the years to come, and this is WrestleMania, this is how you kind of rank these things. You think about scaling, oh my God, they've just put WrestleMania 10 on the pre-show. You think about sort of these matches in the years and like sort of decades to come about what stands the test of time. You know, like they've just inducted Bret Hart and Steve Austin into the Hall of Fame, second to Triple H. But nonetheless, these are the things that kind of potentially last a lifetime. The hyperbole is real. You know, that the legacy really does stick and the legacy attaches. And I personally don't think anything from last night's WrestleMania will be held aloft in the all-timer lists of the all-time WrestleMania great matches and the like. However, I thought WrestleMania Night 1 was one of the shows that might. I thought the show was greater than the sum of its parts. Like, the booking was like solid and then outright impressive. The drama in the theatre that they were able to extract from some of the big moments is what WWE is best at. I want to shout out the Allegiant, a beautiful building with a phenomenal atmosphere that we understand didn't really come across last night. We have this all the time, right? When we're reviewing shows, people say they were there live, and it was like, well, it was loud in my section, and maybe it's like a wrestling audio thing in 2025. I don't know. But I will say, like, the stuff that you could feel the crowd swell for and the stuff that they had the energy for was some of the loudest I think I've heard in a stadium setting. You know, the old cliche about the noise going up or going wide or whatever. The acoustics felt great in the building, even if, sadly, if they maybe didn't quite translate on camera. But yeah, a really, really enjoyable show in person that just, if I'm going to be negative, lacked one match that I think will fight, you know, will sort of fight amongst the all-time WrestleMania classics in the years to come.
I think, well, we'll talk about the main event in due course, but I think that really made the night for me without question. But again, like you say, just to reiterate, yeah, I mean, it's me and Hamflett reviewing WrestleMania. Our takes are already going to be slightly skewed, but even more so through being in attendance. You know how giddy we get, but we are very lucky, and thanks to all the support for getting us here. We hit 65 million listens to the WhatCulture Wrestling podcast today. So thanks again for all your support. We would not be able to do this without you guys. But yeah, I think the perfect personification of how things may have come across differently or been perceived differently begins with the opener of WrestleMania 41 Night 1, because it was Gunther versus Jey Uso.
Yeet, 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 yeet. Vain.
For the World Heavyweight Championship. I do not have my copious amounts of notes. I just have my giddy notes that I made sitting in Allegiant last night. So it's a bit of a cliff notes for all the matches here, but you've probably already watched all the matches anyway. So I wrote, my initial note was, anytime Jey gets any momentum, Gunther chops it away. He sort of, aside from dropping Gunther with a shot early on, it was all Gunther as we anticipated and hoped it was going to be be honest. There was a slight panic amongst a few of us initially when early on in the match Gunther hits a superplex, a dropkick and a powerbomb, and you thought, that's not it, just straight away, is it? He's not going 4-0 over Jey like that. But no, of course, Jey kicks out. He comes back with a Rana, a spear, and a splash. Gunther kicks out of that, though. It looks like he's getting pissed off so much so at one point, he's just going to walk out with the title belt. But it was all a ruse so he could smashed Jay with the belt whilst the referee was moved out of the way, with Jay trying to dive onto Gunther. He hits a splash, but Jay Uso kicks out again. They have a bit of an exchange of shots, and you'd always bet on Gunther here, but Jay drops him with a huge lariat, and the finish saw Jay powerbombing Gunther, hitting 2 super kicks, 3 splashes, and then, I don't think anyone called this in the build to WrestleMania, choking out. Gunther taps to a rear naked choke to make Jey Uso your new, biggest one yet, that, your new World Heavyweight Champion. Again, the sort of disconnect between people watching at home and people being in attendance was probably the most clear it has been with regards to their feeling towards this match. I wrote phenomenal opener and got a lot of tweets saying, what match were you watching, pal? But I think it was all part of that experience of being there, and again, thanks to everyone for making us lucky enough to be able to do this as our ridiculous jobs. And I just thought it was the right result as well, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I think I'd picked Gunther in most of the predictions content we've done. I think I mentioned it on the stage, the HyperX, which got booze in the building because sentiment was high for Jey Uso, and it's impossible. We said this this time last year. There's a stinker, absolute Turkerino City Jones. That's what people were saying when Jay and Jimmy rapped in Philadelphia last year. And to be fair, it's not just hung around Jey Uso, it's kind of become his reputation, right? The guy that ultimately, if he's having a good match, and it's an exception rather than a rule. And I'm with you. It felt big in the building. It felt important in the building. It is increasingly feeling a bit tired to talk about what Jey Uso doesn't have, because it's very obvious what he doesn't have. He doesn't have a long laundry list of classic matches. He doesn't have, seemingly, the realistic ability to create that laundry list of classic matches. But what he does have currently outranks all of that. Like Yeet Mania, the glass just smashed somewhere in this building. Yeet Mania is real. The movement that you have seen in buildings all over the world over the last 2 years is worth more right now than the matches that Jey Uso can have as world champion. There's a lot of speculation and potential excitement around Jey Uso losing the title quite quickly, because it was way more about the moment, a capital M, as it often is in WWE. The stuff with Jimmy was really quite moving. Like the fact that it took him so long to get to the ring, giving everybody like the opportunity to do something he normally does on Raw, which is the like getting that over and over again, because it took him so long
was great,
to get through the throngs. It just made it even more magic, you know. Philadelphia was relatively tight as opposed to this time. So everything in terms of how you built up Jey Uso was done to sheer perfection, even if, as usual, the execution of some of the moves wasn't. And here, man, like Gunther trying to cheat, getting tapped out, losing. We were talking about this at breakfast today. They are telling a pretty elegant story of Gunther's like choke artist reputation. Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes in the champion versus champion match, Cody Rhodes in the Royal Rumble, you know, and now here we are once again against a guy who was beaten quite handily over the years in Jey Uso, not being able to get it done when the lights shine the brightest. If this is Gunther's kryptonite, what a kryptonite to have. What a story you can tell every year of the guy that spends 11 months decimating all in front of him, only to become the opposite of The Undertaker, and that's never a bad thing to be, on the WrestleMania stage.
Yeah, and far be it from us to be Mr. and Mr. Stand Up for WWE, but I know I saw a lot of people reacting to Gunther tapping out fast, but I think if you're invested in Jey Uso winning and you enjoyed this match, you give it the leeway that I've given it, or not even the leeway. I was sat next to Simon Miller and we were talking about this, and we both were invested in it. I was talking about how I saw online people were talking about how it's a bit of his kryptonite as well, that rear naked choke. Ilya Dragunov got him with it as well. Jey Uso becomes only the second man to tap out Gunther. And I drew references to people in the UFC in the past who've maybe tapped out to a choke that hasn't been perfectly put on because mentally they know what's about to happen, or you know, and excited to see how Gunther responds to all this, of course, going forward. Did he tap out because he didn't want to be completely unconscious at WrestleMania? Who knows? Regardless, I think it's the most exciting story for everyone going forward. Jey Uso's world champion for now, at least. People are talking about him dropping it on the Raw after WrestleMania. That's how soon people think he might lose it. But nevertheless, Jey Uso is World Heavyweight Champion. He did another amazing press conference. A little bit on the south, perhaps, but regardless, it's what we all love to see. And what happens with Gunther now going forward is just so intriguing. How does he bounce back from this? And who's going to be first to get murdered by him when he does decide to step back between those ropes? Moving on to the second match of the night, it was the tag team title match, the only men's tag team title match across WrestleMania weekend, and we're pissed off about that. We'll talk about that on another date, I'm sure. This was the Raw tag team titles, though. It was the War Raiders versus the New Day. We were hoping for more than I think this delivered, but I am still, holding a candle for this New Day heel turn after what magic they produced in December when it first happened, that this will be the catalyst for them going forward of right, we've got the belts now we can really hit our groove as heel tag team champions, because the match wasn't really up to much in terms of a big WrestleMania match, was it? Especially with the catalogue that the New Day have. It was a bit of a TV affair, if I'm perfectly honest here. Ivar squashed them both against the ring early on, like he loves to do, and it always is an awesome spot, that. I've just written here, the New Day are cocky bell ends until Eric drops Kofi onto Xavier. I'm still always astonished, especially if you're lucky enough to be in the building for it, to see that Ivar handspring, double back elbow, and a moonsault. But in the end, Kofi saved Xavier from getting killed by the New Day. They hit Ivar with their, I think it was up, down, down, and Kofi held on to Ivar's legs from outside the ring, so he couldn't kick out. New Day cheating to win. They are your new Raw Tag Team Champions.
Yeah, I mean, the match got what the booking deserved, right? Ultimately, the New Day characters haven't exactly been well looked after since the incredible and devastating turn on Big E, and nor have the War Raiders as tag team champions or the belts. So you got zero advantages going in, and the match was a match. The match was a TV match. You've seen it a million times. I did like the finish. There was a nice WrestleMania callback. It was Bobby Heenan holding down on Rick Rude's legs. Warrior's legs when Rick Rude became Intercontinental Champion. And just to do it in the slimiest possible way is them, at very least, trying their hardest to stay loyal to these characters. They need to do cool moves, right? But cool moves aren't the work of heels. So how do you kind of make both work? And they did put their hands together a little bit on that one. I'll just say this, right? Because there is very little to dive into about this match. Why was this not inspired by the setting, inspired by Las Vegas? What happens when you walk down the Las Vegas Strip or anywhere in just this insane city?
I get an erection.
Well, yeah, obviously, that goes without saying. That's thrown me off a little bit. We are inside a pyramid, right? Along from the pyramid is the Statue of Liberty and a New York skyline. Along from that is the Eiffel friggin' Tower.
Ooh la la.
Along from that is Venice. And a bit further along from that, as me and Nicholas found out the other day, is a giant friggin' emoji head, 100 friggin' feet tall, with a billion lights saying, "Good morning, gentlemen, going for a run, I see." What I'm trying to get at here is that in Vegas, if somebody comes up with a mad idea, they do it, right? You should have put this on a boat. You should have put this on a boat. Viking rules.
It's going to be war.
Yeah. Viking rules at WrestleMania. Dress the setup. Have them have Kofi and Woods do the Titanic. I'm the king of the world. We got a Titanic in the pyramid that you could have come and done it here. Should have put it on a boat. Should have thrown some bells and whistles at it. The main event was the one, and we'll get to it shortly, that was given the sort of permission of the tables and the plunder and all that kind of thing. You could have gotten away with it. You could have had boat-based plunder and the New Day still getting them. And the captain of the booty horse ship. They could have leaned into it as well. This needed more to help get it over the line. As it was just a match. And all that we'll remember in the years to come is that the New Day's got the belts back. The heel turn has to start now.
Yes, I agree, and we will no doubt talk about more on that with regards to the Raw after WrestleMania going forward. On to the next match, though, and this was a show of amazing entrances, and just in case I forget it, Tiffany Stratton's later on was just jaw-dropping. Sorry, Tiffany Stratton, and I'll let him tackle the main event entrances because I sense he's got quite a bit to say about it. But before that, we got a weather report because a storm was coming to WrestleMania. Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Proceed with caution. Love her heel turn, and I think she lost nothing in defeat here because it's Jade Cargill after all, in a match that I really enjoyed as well. I think the right person won here. I'm excited to see with Jade now winning at WrestleMania, and a sort of nice callback. And there was a few, I'd say, across this WrestleMania weekend of, remember this time last year? One I liked less so in regards to NXT, but that's a story for another time. A year ago, they're doing that amazing trios entrance with Naomi, Bianca Belair, and of course Jade Cargill. And here it was just Jade Cargill destroying Naomi. She got some stuff in, which I think was needed here. Initially, obviously, Jade beat her up, and me and Miller were sat next to each other. We were saying both for this match and obviously Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton, please don't just lock up. The story you've told would not make sense if you suddenly were like, right, let's see who can get the better of an early exchange. And both times, the person who's been wronged by their opponent tackled them to the floor, and that's what started things off. Jade beat Naomi up low. She chucked her around ringside, but Naomi came back, dropping Jade Cargill from the apron to the outside. She took over, but Jade caught her coming off the top. There was a couple of spots here. I can't remember exactly the order of moves or what happened. There was power slams in there as Jade Cargill just showed off her freakish strength as Naomi, I apologize, came flying off the top. She slammed Naomi a couple of times, but Naomi got a nice near fall. There was a top rope DDT from her as they were fighting on the top rope. A split-legged moonsault from Naomi gets a 2 count, but in the end, Jade Cargill got her up, and we were thinking, how's she in jaded from here? She didn't. She just sort of chucked her about and got her with like a huge power bomb, wasn't it? And then hit her with the jaded 1, 2, 3. This is everything it needed to be for me.
Yeah, a good night for Jade Cargill in the ring, I would say, and she does need some of them. After the tag team title run was memorable for the cool visuals and also for when the matches almost fell apart. We've got to be fair here. Jade Cargill, I'm going to steal a take from my cousin Nick. Shout out Nick if you're watching this somewhere else in Las Vegas, getting up to all sorts of trouble. And he said, we're 5 years deep now. You can't call Jade Cargill the project. That's long enough to be sort of having a certain expectation, not least when you're getting a singles match at WrestleMania. The story has been tremendous. The comeback, the Elimination Chamber beatdown, these are the things that justify the spot. We had a chat about this at the HyperXL live show that we did on the Friday previewing WrestleMania. The first, my brain is still cycling through, the first straight up women's match without a title.
As far as we can think of, yeah. In
a singles in WrestleMania history. And even if it wasn't quite the first, it's certainly the best because it's actually had the creative muscle behind it to warrant the spot. So, yeah, great night for Jade Cargill in that regard at very least, and maybe an even better one for Naomi. As a heel, coming out and getting this, it's an overused phrase at this point, but getting her flowers, getting the entrance, getting the sort of the sense of specialness around somebody that's put in the time and the grind all of these years. Again, talk about 5 years ago. What happened 5 years ago at the 2020 Royal Rumble? Naomi got one of the biggest pops of anyone across the entire evening and was promptly given nothing as a reward, A lot of this stuff, sometimes you're made to wait, you're made to sort of take your licks, as it were, and just stick at it. Few have done that more than Naomi. This felt like a night. This felt like a win for her, even in defeat. And pleasingly, which was my big worry, it wasn't the sort of match that left her for dead as a heel. Yeah. She was competitive. She'd realised, I'm probably going to take a beating tonight, so I need to fight as hard just to keep up, just to stay in the league with someone as massive and as dominant as Jade Cargill. There will be other nights for her, and I will say this, for our old Paul Games, WWE, what he does do for the heels is give them all of the sort of piss and vinegar after the fact. Yeah. If she's going to complain, it's going to feed into her next thing. If it's going to be, I was close, but I need to get back on the sort of treadmill, I need to get another opportunity. Yeah, Bianca, nice win. We're still friends, right? Maybe I can have a title shot. There are creative avenues for Naomi to travel down, even though she's lost. And
Naomi could be a champion within months with these mid-card titles. I'm not saying you drop her down to that, but in terms of if you want to say, well, she doesn't deserve if Bianca, let's say, wins the title, and we talked about it on our preview for night 2. If Bianca does have that, you can say, well, hang on, Jade Cargill should be far ahead in that. Wins and losses matter in this company, of course. But you've got these mid-card titles, and I don't see it as a demotion. I think arguably the character that Naomi is, she could arguably elevate one of those mid-card titles, like Chelsea Green has done with the US, for me.
Are you saying that it means that, in a secondary title, can feel the grow once it's being held by Naomi? Because when it comes to puns and wordplay, I would approach with caution.
They're showing more shots of Las Vegas on the screens. There's a pyramid
there.
We're
in the building.
I got a boner. Right, let's move next onto a match. I am going to need Michael Hamflett's help with this because, full disclosure, me and Adam Nicholas went to get some food, some delicious chicken tendies. Shout out to Dominic Mysterio in the wonderful Allegiant Stadium. So I missed parts of this, although, such a mark, I got Netflix up on my phone and we were watching it in the queue. So I saw a fair bit of this, but anything I do miss out, I do apologise because it was really good. It was the US title match, the challenger being Jacob Fatu. And the champion, of course, being L.A. Knight.
Yeah.
Really fun, this. Maserati, was it? I think. I'm not a car guy. That's what L.A. Knight came out in.
Nice.
But I missed
It was a Fiesta.
Thank you. I missed the early parts of this match. So I'm going to say what I saw, and then if there's any bits you want to add to it, because all I've heard online is a lot of praise for this match, quite rightly so, for a match that arguably was one of the most predictable on the night, or at least should have been. I still bought when Jacob Fatu came off the top with that moonsault of his and somehow got hit with the BFT by LA Knight. I thought, well, I guess Jacob's losing on his debut at WrestleMania. But no, Jacob Fatu grabbed the bottom rope to break up the pinfall. They did the nice little bit with like LA Knight's not felt the shoulders move, so he's off. Who done it? Yeah. Oh my God. Oh no. Okay, he's touched the rope. There was a super Samoan drop by Jacob Fatu from the top rope, a couple of moonsaults, and we have a new US champion in Jacob Fatu. What do you think of the match and any other stuff I may have missed whilst eating chicken tendies?
Well, truthfully, and I'll say this, like, this is not to be overly critical of the first half of this match, but it's interesting that you know that BFT counter was like, oh, that got a big reaction. If we're being brutally honest, I think that was the first point and then maybe the only point in the match where the audience might have bought that the title wasn't changing, and that did hamper them in the early going. Like, it felt like that kind of like wrestling for wrestling's sake stuff where, like, you know that wrestlers have to lock up, they have to exchange punches, they have to exchange holds, somebody needs to take an advantage, somebody needs to reclaim the advantage. But the problem here was that you could have had Jacob Fatu beat LA Knight in 10 seconds, and that wouldn't have been damaging to LA Knight, it just would have been showing the dominance of a Jacob Fatu.
He went for a BFT early, didn't he? And Jacob just sort of powered out like that, didn't he?
Exactly like that. I can't believe you weren't watching, because it was like you're in the room. It's like you're in the ring, in fact, seeing that. So yeah, ultimately it was when they kind of like went up the gears, and this is a WWE thing, right? They know that people are off getting chicken tendies or going to the toilet, so it's all right. Ultimately, this delivered what it had to, which is like a comprehensive victory for Jacob Fatu. I will say this, there's a nice little bit of lore in the fact that Jacob, like, even though he's dominant, he does things differently to Jey Uso, right? But that he also went down the route of doing the multiple moonsaults to get it done, like in the same way that Jey went for the multiple Uso splashes. Yeah. There's a nice bit of Samoan law there, and oh my God, wouldn't we get that in the main event entrance? Oh no, I got one. No, this was everything it needed to be for Jacob. And now that he's kind of like out of the United States title division, I am very, very keen to see where they go with LA Knight. Yeah. What next? Like, what creative leave you got for this mid-card? Triple H, the game. You're going to get your 2-hour SmackDown back, and we're all counting down the days till that. But yeah, fix some of these mid-carders that have got not a lot to do. And for the first time in a while, that's going to be LA Knight. When he lost that title to Shinsuke Nakamura, we were thinking, oh, is he getting elevated? No, he's just winning it back. That was real weird. Real weird. Could we see LA Knight as a genuine contender to perhaps a heel John Cena as a world champion, to potentially the heel that might beat Jey Uso for his title? LA Knight might be in a bit of a sweet spot now, while Jacob, for me, goes the whole friggin' year. Yeah. I want to be talking in New Orleans, Louisiana next year and previewing who Jacob's going to defend that United States title against. He is going to main event WrestleMania at some point, but like you say, for me, like you say, if you say right now, and we are going to, at some point, we were just talking about this, try and predict WrestleMania 42's card when we get a chance in the immediate aftermath of WrestleMania. Would that be WrestleMania 42? Indeed. Yeah. But like you say, if he's not factored into main event plans, and I don't think he will be in perfect honesty for next year, like you say, yeah, just have him run the year with the US title, killing everybody, and maybe WrestleMania is the first time you ever think, he might have a shot. Maybe that's where you do Bron Breakker versus Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu versus Gunther? Jesus Christ. My penis can only get so erect, Michael Hamflett. Speaking of which, if you haven't seen it, go and check out the photo of the Triple H. Yeah, you know, and he does it with everyone. Jacob Fatu pulling just the best face after he won that. Right, let's talk next about El Grande Americano versus not Rey Mysterio. Get well soon to him. And me and Miller, again, were a bit annoyed for the live audience, and I know we're all marks and we all keep up with this online, so we all knew about the fact that Rey Fenix was replacing Rey Mysterio, and I think they did it on the kickoff maybe, but I was chatting to people in the bar last night, and a few of them didn't know. They were just like, oh, I guess it's Rey Fenix. It would have been nice to just have a 30-second clip on this show of numerous adverts and what have you, of just like, by the way, Rey Mysterio is injured, get well soon to him, of course, and he said that Rey Fenix is going to represent him here. This match, of course, came hot on the heels of the announcement of WWE's partnership and ownership of What do you think? It's Triple A. You've got your pronunciation wrong there. My apologies, my sincere apologies. And so did WWE, but they bought it now, so I guess it's up to them to decide to call it. Can I shock you, actually? Whatever this company's called, I kind of like him now. That Vikingo, I want to see what he can do in the ring. Do you know, I'm glad you brought... some real workers. I'm glad you brought this up, because... I'm joking, don't. Come on. You're a fantastic recapper. Thank you. A broadcast professional. Thank you. And a wonderful friend. Oh, thank you. But I think recapping this match as a very good bit of business between El Grande Americano and Rey Fenix would be doing disservice to the bigger picture here. And we like to have a lot of fun here on the WhatCulture Wrestling podcast. That's where 65 million listeners come from. But we're going to have a conversation. Like, I know, and know people who know of people, that are best placed to speak on this particular thorny issue than I am, as just an idiot on the internet. But this El Grande Americano thing isn't so much as sailing close to the wind as practically getting blown away by it at this point. The stuff they're leaning into, and we don't need to go into it in detail here, and nor are we necessarily in the position to do so, is upsetting people. And when you acquire, as WWE have done, a promotion with its own rich lucha history and take your newest and arguably most dynamic lucha star and pin him for a bit. Let's be realistic here, right? Yeah, pin him for a bit. 24 hours after he's been eliminated from a battle royal, and what, 2 weeks after you've debuted him? What does that say about what it is you plan to do with this acquisition, what you plan to do with the rich history that you've just acquired to put on your vaults or put on your networks or your Netflixes or whatever? They'll look after the footage, they'll look after the history of that, I've absolutely no doubt. WWE are good at this. But the future, I'd worry, I'd panic. And from what I got here, I think they're more concerned about leaning into this bit with El Grande Americano than kind of anything else. And at this point, especially the trajectory of Rey Fénix, I would love nothing more a year on when we're doing our WrestleMania 42 preview to be able to say, can't believe Rey Fénix in this huge match, can't wait to see him. Maybe he's working like as part of the Lucha Brothers again with Penta, who's hopefully going to have another banger here on night 2. But I just can't shake the feeling that already they've seen him as a bit of a casualty of something bigger. Pronouns pal. Rey Fénix as a casualty of something bigger. There are more big names to arrive on SmackDown imminently. There are more lucha stars such as Penta who they're kind of more focused on at the moment. Like, is Rey Fénix 2 weeks in already going to find himself stuck on the same treadmill that Dragon Lee has, despite the great matches and the great moments? I think there's a lot to worry about with this one. The match was a lovely bit of business, very well worked, very well executed. What else are you going to expect from these two, yeah? But it's really, there's a cloud hanging over it and you couldn't shake it. I didn't think anyway.
Yeah, I'm conflicted on this. Like, on the one hand, I'm blessed to be in attendance for El Grande Americano's WrestleMania debut. Like, having a legend like that, getting to see his first ever WrestleMania match was a joy to behold. But yes, at the same time, it was the most surprising result, I think I'd say. You know, with regards to the main event, that's a different kind of a surprise. But the most surprising result on this card, because like you say, and nothing against these other names that I'm about to mention, if the plan was, well, Rey was going to lose, Mysterio this is, so we'll just have someone else step in and lose. And yes, Fénix, in terms of a pop of like, Fénix is taking his place. Oh, cool, a Rey Fénix match, like you say, 3 weeks after he's debuted at WrestleMania. That's awesome. But if he's going to lose, I'm not sure I'd do this. Of course, we don't know what the plans are for El Grande Americano and Triple R. Like, people are saying, like, is he going to go after a title there? And I'm like, they're going to go really all out with this one, I suppose.
Worlds collide with NXT coming soon. They're going to do it.
Why not, if you're going to do that, if you're going to have this big push for El Grande Americano, just have him beat, and I love him, Dragon Lee or Joaquin Wilde or Cruz del Toro or anyone else that's not named Rey Fénix who's just shown up. I don't see them beating Aleister Black, for example, in the first 3 weeks of him showing up on SmackDown after WrestleMania, as we assume at least. But yeah, it was surreal that. But like you say, it may be factored into more, and maybe the plan wasn't to have Americano win until they had this announcement for the new partnership, ownership, etc. Because part of the match, and I'll get into what happened in it, literally before the match started, El Grande Americano got into it with Vikingo, who was sat there at ringside along with numerous other AAA people. And obviously Rey Fénix, as a result of that, takes the lead in this match, flies all over the place as only Rey Fénix can. But Americano comes back. He hits a belly to belly into the turnbuckles. He hit a move that I've spoken to about 10 different people about this, and no one has the right answer for me yet. I can't tell you what it was. You have to see it. Phil, I think, came close with some sort of reverse 450.
Oh, like an inversion one.
It looked like he just killed him, basically. Of course, Americano tries to unmask Rey Fénix and all this, and I think the real money is in, of course, unmasking El Grande Americano and finding out who he is. A bit devastated that when Rey Mysterio dropped out that Chad Gable wasn't considered for this spot. But Americano, as Fénix tries to do that amazing spot I've never seen before, where he runs the ropes. Americano pushes the ropes. Fénix takes a tumble. Americano loads the mask up, but Fénix manages to hit the kick on the second attempt. But as he flies in, Americano nails him with the loaded mask, hits him with a flying headbutt, and gracias defeats Rey Fénix.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just going to have to sort of like remain silencioed by everything else, because the booking is the thing to talk about. But yeah, the match was a good bit of business. It just, like I say, under a little bit of a cloud for now. We will see how things play out for the multiple people involved in this and the kind of moving parts attached to them as well.
Right, let's talk Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's title. I will say this, out of almost everybody that we've been lucky enough to see and chat to over this weekend, I think I enjoyed this the most. Maybe not for the reason I was supposed to, and I understand people's complaints about this match, but I had a boatload of fun with this. We talked about it being arguably one of the most anticipated matches of the weekend because of the stuff that had gone on beforehand. And it was a bit of a weird mix, as Miller was pointing out to me, between, you know, strong New Japan strong style and let's also get our spots in and what have you. But nevertheless, whenever it kind of lost its way, and it did on numerous occasions, I'm not going to deny this. I'm not going to say this is some sort of classic that you guys just don't understand. What the reason why I liked it is because every time they were like, oh, not quite getting into position, they didn't just go, okay, you ready, set? They just twat each other as hard as they possibly can. It was a bit weird as well. Amazing entrance from Tiffany Stratton. I want to mention that as well. And everyone, there was no divide in the audience here. It was all Tiffy time and no one was chanting for Charlotte Flair. It was a bit weird, and I don't know whether this was deliberate or not. It was sort of the Spider-Man meme in terms of how these two were dressed. Yeah. They was very similar looking, obviously. But in terms of the match, like I say, lots of brawling early on. A couple of cartwheel back elbows and a spine buster gets Tiffy too. Again, I've just written all caps here. Stiff shots, laying them in. A powerbomb from Charlotte, but Tiffy kicks out. Tiffy rolled through a crossbody from Charlotte from the top rope and got a 2 count. And then Charlotte tweaked her knee and Tiffy wasted no time going after that. But Charlotte Flair came back and targeted Tiffany Stratton's knee. She put her in the figure 4. She can't get into the figure 8 because Tiffany fights back by attacking Charlotte's injured leg and fighting out of it. Oh, I forgot to mention, was it the Rey Fenix match where Americano put the ankle lock on the wrong injured ankle? Yeah, never mind. Yeah. Okay, well, a prettiest moonsault ever is set up by Tiffany Stratton, but Charlotte gets the knees up, and you thought, oh, God, here we go. She also hit a supernatural selection to get a 2 count, which was an amazing spot, I've got to say. But Tiffany Stratton, she lost or chipped or whatever, did something to her face and teeth, and she had a welt on her head as well. There's a great sort of before and after of her making an amazing sort of Barbie entrance, and then afterwards just, oh, bloody hell. She hits an Alabama slam into the turnbuckle on Charlotte Flair. Prettiest moonsault ever. 1, 2, 3. I said this at the time. I've said this on numerous occasions already. I think had Charlotte Flair won this match, I probably would have had a different overall opinion of it. But Tiffany Stratton beating Charlotte Flair, where Charlotte Flair goes from here, where Tiffany Stratton as champion still goes from here, I'm really excited. It was a mess, this, but I had a lot of fun. Yes.
Where to start? You pointed out the natural selection, like the one from the top. Yeah. Like, from where I was sat, it kind of looked like she was missing by a mile. But then to your point about some of the other parts of this match where it kind of went a bit wrong and a bit clunky, it's like Charlotte Flair just like followed through with what appeared to be some sort of forearm at the back end of it and then kicked her a bit more. And it was like, oh, they're still fighting then. Tiffany Stratton, the contrast is so perfect, you're right. Like, how battle-worn and beaten down she looked in the end wasn't just a perfect contrast to her entrance, where she was obviously Barbie doll, literally box fresh in these Barbie dolls, right? It was the kind of the scars of a war that you wanted to see happen from the moment they were exchanging verbals on SmackDown. Yeah. That promo, you would want to end in one of them looking like this. And Tiffany Stratton did. Like, it's that kind of like thing, like, yeah, and I won. You want to see the other girl? It's that sort. That's one of those things, isn't it? Like, it was the perfect illustration of what we were wanting when we were seeing them half killing each other on the microphone. So, mission accomplished with this one. Oddly enough, and unexpectedly so. Not one of Charlotte Flair's finest nights. I'm not sure that the Queen we used to, I wouldn't exactly say know and love, but know and expect was going to have some of these like kind of modern classics with various members of the roster. I'm not sure that that's Charlotte Flair now, but it doesn't mean, based on this evidence, that she can't offer other appeals. I will say, because a bunch of people have like asked me about it on Twitter, and it's probably easy just to talk about it now while there's a microphone in front of my face. The pink gear, man, what are you doing? I'm trying not to swear because we're not really having the time to like put the beeps in and things like that. But I was saying a few choice words when I saw Charlotte Flair coming out in that pink. Come on. Like, I understand that an element of this is a contrast and a kind of not so much passing the torch as stealing it. And the idea that, like, you can pretend that you're who you are now, but I've always been this from the beginning. No, I don't believe that's what the story you were telling here. I think you knew full well that the contrasts and the comparisons were going to be made, and you want it to look like the original and best, not somebody that was, like, ready to sort of move aside so that somebody could take your place. Having said that, she did the job. So... Yes. whatever there might have been politically beforehand, at least didn't play out when it came to the match. It's still a dance, it's still a cooperation. You still got to go out there and do the business, and Charlotte Flair did just that. So a little bit of credit in a time where she's been running into quite a lot of criticism, I think, is due. I'm with you. Ultimately, I think the vibes were right even when the action wasn't.
Yeah.
This did feel clumsy and clunky and angsty and needly. And I think that was always destined to be what people wanted more than if it was beautifully and crisply executed. So for all that it had faults that maybe won't stand up particularly well to rewatch, in the building, in the moment, and just in the headspace of the two women, I kind of thought they got this just about right.
Yeah, really chuffed. For Tiffany Stratton, and you might as well hold on to the mic.
Oh, okay, right, all right.
Because where we're about to head is going to be very exciting indeed.
You're bouncing on it, mate.
Because we have to talk about the main event of the evening, a triple threat match, a multi-man match. It turns out they're pretty good, guys, because it was CM Punk versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. And before we talk about anything with regard to the matches, entrances. Over to you, Michael Hamflett.
Oh my God. It's a good job we haven't got the soundboard, because I've pressed the button so hard I'd probably smash through the desk and break it, and you're not going to get 65 more million listens if you haven't got your kit in front of you. Right. Seth Rollins coming out in, well, hey, that awesome big coat he had, but then lifting it all off to reveal the white. Vince, more on that in a second. Vince McMahon, of course, infamously once said that Seth Rollins doesn't look good in white, and that was just one of the gazillion reasons why he was the stupidest, most cretinous promoter of the last 20 years in the business. Because that man wears white. Maybe in the top 5 of all time. It's not often that I'll compare Seth Rollins to Shawn Michaels, but good in white is in one of those ways, because at WrestleMania, we wear white. Anyone else believed in that? I think it was one Roman Reigns, who, Jesus Christ, I'm throwing my ones up in the air, but it's not the only thing that's pointing upwards, let me tell you, because when I saw that man coming out in white boots, like, it was standing, but I wasn't, because I just fell back into my chair like that gif of just like the melting ball of wax where you're kind of falling down. The white boots, the white glove, the WrestleMania occasion of it all.
The screens came down, didn't they?
The entrance of the bloodline, the Samoan dynasty with all of his family members on these screens that looked like playing cards in the day with all the stars on, and then Samoans by night, as he was kind of like walking basically in the footsteps of those that had come before him. Like one of the, well, put it like this, a far more arresting visual of the family than the big PowerPoint presentation that was behind Dwayne the last time they were doing this in Las Vegas. So yeah, absolutely amazing. The cinema and the theatre of it all, we all like a joke about it. We all are known for saluting SmackDown for its sort of more cinematic qualities. But no, certainly this was a bang on. And then the Punker, as had been discussed earlier on, in coming out to Living Colour playing live, that had been confirmed because they were on Fremont Street earlier in the day. The video package they played before, so everybody in the building was singing Kill Switch Engage as it played the soundtrack to his video before he came out to Cult of Personality, as he kind of finally got, you know, the dream that they were selling of his WrestleMania main event. You will notice that my voice is hoarse because all of my criticism of the booking and the different ways I would have gone notwithstanding, I lost my head completely the second he came out. Got very emotional, actually. Seeing Paul Heyman again do the watch for what we would now see would be the last time was really quite something. And just a little bit of fun speculation for me, because I enjoy wrestling gear, I enjoy a bit of lore, and I enjoy a bit of stupid stuff. I just want people, when they have time or when they can be arsed, to go back and enjoy what CM Punk was wearing when he lost not just a match, as he did here, but quite the political battle to one Triple H at Night of Champions back in 2011, when things with the Bite Bam were not going out so well. Check the gear. And I will say, the hoodie was very reminiscent of the last time he wore the WrestleMania eye with Paul Heyman for the Undertaker match at WrestleMania. So that was quite nice as well. Lots of little callbacks, lots of little moments, lots of little memories and lots of new moments made in this match, because once I was able to recover from the entrances, which took a good 5 minutes, they got there. They took a little while to get going, but when they got there, oh my God.
Yeah, Miller mentioned this as well on his amazing ups and downs, arguably the best one we've ever done. From this bar we're sat in right now, an incredible visual as me and Nicholas came down the escalators from filming what went down to see everyone crammed into Aurora Bar. We'll do the same again tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, Miller mentioned on his ups and downs about live music performances, and I'm kind of with him. I've only really been lucky enough to see a few, but traditionally, prior to being lucky enough to be in attendance, I remember thinking, oh, this doesn't come through when certain bands would play people out at WrestleMania. Joan Jett being the obvious exception.
She was great.
But I loved Living Colour here. I thought they really just smashed it, and you could see what a wonderful moment it was. Not just for them, obviously, but for CM Punk as well. But let's talk about the match, and there's lots to talk about here, because this was by far the longest match of the card, by far the match of the night, and, just some amazing stuff. So they initially brawl around ringside. Well, initially, actually, CM Punk was like, why don't you two go at it, eh? He sees you two, it's all about you, isn't it? But yes, it was Seth and Punk brawling around ringside into the fans. Punk and Seth hit each other with bins. Then Roman dived over the barricade onto both of them. He hit a Samoan drop to Punk, a huge shot to Seth as well. Just chinned him out of nowhere as he was trying to come at him. Punk came back, though. He hit running corners to both of them. Running knees in the corner, to both of them. There was a doomsday device to Seth Rollins.
Kicked ass.
That was amazing. Punk tried to pin Roman. He kicked out, so he put him in the Anaconda device, but Seth came back and frog splashed both of them. There was buckle bombs to Punk and to Roman. Everyone got their stuff in on both of their opponents, basically. Roman speared Punk as he was trying for a GTS on Seth. He tried to spear Seth, but what a moment this was, and what a callback. Seth pedigrees Roman Reigns as he does that, and hit a stomp for a great early near fall, as we were set to find out. Roman went to spear Punk, but he hit Seth, and Punk hit a GTS to Roman. He got an incredibly close 2 count as well. And then Seth is there appealing to Roman Reigns. This is about you and me. He shouldn't even be here. He mentions Mox as well. I should mention that here. He says, come on, let's roll back the years. Let's do a Shield powerbomb. And Roman seemingly is convinced. They set up with it on the outside, and he's pushing their hair back, and he's about to do the thing, and he's like, now bollocks to you, Seth. Punches him right in the face, and as Hamflett alluded to earlier, Roman then put both members of the match through the tables, one for Punk and then another one for Seth Rollins.
First time they've ever broken in this era, those spaceship tables they've got. They saved it for the right match at the right moment on the right night. Good work, WWE, on that one.
Seth then kicked out of a spear, and Roman decided, all right, if I can't beat him, he was devastated by that, I'll just choke out Punk in front of the wise man who's having kittens at ringside. He guillotines him for a long old time. I was real worried that was going to be the finish, to be perfectly honest. But Punk eventually fought out of it and put Roman Reigns in the vice. Seth came in, he put a sharpshooter on Punk, who sold it just immaculately. Me and Nicholas, full disclosure, rewatched the last 20 minutes of this match in bed last night before we went to bed because we were so giddy. And yeah, Punk screaming in the sharpshooter. And then, after that, when Punk's, just exhausted, he's put all the effort into the vice, then he's had his back taken out with the sharpshooter. He just then was powerless as Roman Reigns put a great guillotine on Seth Rollins. But in the end, Punk stomped Roman. He hit a GTS to Seth Rollins and got a 2 count. And then they all hit moves. There was a GTS, a spear, and a stomp. All 3 men are down, Michael Hamflett. Yeah. And then we really kicked into gear because all of a sudden, Paul Heyman walks over to the timekeeper's area and grabs a chair. And this, I sense, is where opinion will be divided on this match. But if you like melodrama, and oh boy do I like me some melodrama in the main events of WrestleMania, you would have loved this because he walks to ringside, Seth's completely taken out of it, but Roman and Punk are coming too, and they're both like, give it to me, give me the chair, Paul. Roman wants it, Punk wants it. Paul Heyman turns his attention to Roman Reigns and simply shakes his head, and he slides in the chair to Punk. Roman looks devastated. Punk looks like all of his Christmases have come at once. Paul Heyman helps CM Punk to his feet to kill the tribal chief, except no, he drops down and low blows CM Punk. Roman Reigns, his face was an absolute picture here. He was ecstatic. Paul Heyman hammed it up a bit. Again, if that's not your sort of thing, that's fine. I like it. Yeah. So I was all into this. He acknowledges his tribal chief. He falls to his knees to offer him the chair. And then he tells him, look, it's the Shield thing, in case you run away. I get it.
In case you run away.
Kill him. Finish him off like he did to you all those years ago. But as Roman Reigns sets up, and again, it's a wonderful framing of all this of Seth.
The building get it straight away, don't they? Like, and that's part
you need to hear Paul Heyman say Shield.
Yeah, everyone can see what's about to happen, and it gets really excited from that moment as the audience, one by one, picks up what they're starting to put down, and Heyman starts to put himself slightly behind Roman.
Yeah, he's the devil on his shoulder, but we all know why he's standing so close.
He's still a devil.
Yeah. And yeah, again, he drops down, low blows Roman Reigns, wiggles it about a bit, because there's a lot to hit down there, of course, as we all know. And it is revealed that Paul Heyman has formed an alliance with Seth Rollins, who has seen this on the screen. He's watching what's happening. He's climbing up, but also he's got an eye on the screens that he can see what's about to happen. So he doesn't need to turn around and be like, oh, what the bloody hell's going on here? He just stands there, holds out his hand, and Paul Heyman hands him the chair and then slumps in the corner ring like he's raving. That's what he looked like. It was amazing. And Seth then, again, nails Roman Reigns in the back with a chair. Huge stomp. One.
This is uncomfortable. How did you do it that long?
He's a hard worker. And he hits Roman Reigns with the stomp one final time to win the main event of night one of WrestleMania 41. And he walks out with Paul Heyman. What have we just witnessed?
Well, first of all, and it's not normally I get to do this is normally saved for you, but apologies for those that came to the, history-making WhatCulture Live event on Friday night at HyperX Arena. I should have put spoiler tags around my discussion of this match, shouldn't I? Because, yes, we talked about the chair going in the middle and Heyman, indeed, leaving with Seth Rollins. I'll tell you what I loved about this, right, in terms of the drama and the excitement. For years and years and years, and it was, predominantly led by Vince McMahon, but that era of WWE, just once in a while, when it wasn't being completely dirged for 20 years, they would set something up. And then because you were on the ride and you wanted to see the ride get to the destination, they would change it because you were expecting it. We did talk about this a few times over the last month or so, that there were more than a few, hints about Seth Rollins potentially be joining up with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman being this figure that neither Punk or Roman could trust, that Paul Heyman would have ammo to go back to Punk with, saying, if you were really my friend, you wouldn't have put me in this position. Yeah. Roman, if you were really my tribal chief, you would have been okay with me being and understood the position I was put in. All the while, Seth Rollins has been gradually turning heel because of carrying cross, we must say, and kind of leaning more towards it was Drew McIntyre, who kind of was randomly seeing eye to eye with, There's been all of these clues, and the last thing I would have wanted, having laid out the clues, was to not be kind of rewarded for my investment in that. This was the finish they should have done. I said it at the time when the match was booked, one of the few positives I had was that this was incredibly economical booking because you preserved a Roman Reigns and CM Punk singles match and obscured it with this triple threat while putting Seth Rollins over as the one who everybody said wasn't the star that was worthy of the match. Well, what you do with that then? You put him over. You give the star aura to the man that you want to get a bit more from. There's already discussions from a number of people we've spoken to in Vegas about getting the belt back on Seth Rollins as soon as possible. Yeah. So almost validate this new relationship with Paul Heyman. I'm not opposed to that. Meanwhile, Punk and Roman, the guys, the real top dogs, have to find their way back. Where do they go from here? They're without their confidants, they're without their friends, they're potentially without their kind of their verve and their competitive fire because it's been stubbed out by this betrayal.
Everything Cody said has come true now. I saw a great thing that someone made on Twitter last night. Which again kind of puts over Cody Rhodes as the real conscience of WWE, as its talismanic figure. One thing we'll touch on, I don't think it's going to happen myself, but to go back to your point about the flamethrower, it's out there everywhere, so you'll probably enjoyed your own speculation with friends and whatnot on this one. I could be made an idiot of in 24 hours if we're sat here and there's been this grand reveal of a grand plan. I love that they've done the flamethrower as a potential tease to Seth Rollins aligning with John Cena and The Rock, along with Paul Heyman, as some insane power mad supergroup with Seth saying, you know what, I'm the weekly guy and I want to fight for the goodness of WWE, and then who does he go with in order to do that? The two demigods who were never around. I get it, and it threads together. I don't think it's going to happen personally, but I can't pretend I'm not leaning in on the idea as we lean closer to WrestleMania and this guy, The Rock, potentially, we don't know, potentially making an appearance in that main event, and what we've speculated on, preview for night 2, wherever you get him, that John Cena will indeed become WWE champion. The idea that yes, he's going to be champion, but he's still got the part-time schedule. The Rock is The Rock and he comes and goes as he pleases. Who is almost too proud of how he's always bloody there? It's Seth Rollins, isn't it? Yeah. I can kind of make sense of all this and join the dots, as a lot of people have. Not for me, but not impossible. I absolutely loved this match. I think, and when I was saying this to you, I think it's my favourite triple threat I've ever seen. Okay. I can't think of many others. And again, it may be just because of my investment in the people and again, being in attendance for it. I just thought, and there was a lot of pressure going in because I was seeing sentiment on Twitter being like, ooh, this isn't a great night one of WrestleMania, and think about the history that night one of WrestleMania does kind of carry nowadays. But I thought this main event, I mean, let's go through, you're better than me, so I'll try as hard as I can. Let's go through all night one main events of WrestleMania. So we start at what, 36?
36 was Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar, and then technically Drew McIntyre versus The Big Show.
Of course.
Squashes, the death of the Paul Heyman, big move formula, really, no comparison, this was better.
37?
Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. It smoked it, but, there was a lot of history attached to that. I think 37 has it, yeah.
38 was pretty good, if I remember rightly.
30 was the return of a Stone Cold Steve Austin against Kevin Owens in a match that I imagine like CM Punk wouldn't mind getting his hands on one day as well. Similar, like as much about vibe, as much about emotion, and as much about drama around the big stuff rather than worrying too much about the minutiae. I'd probably go Owens Austin over this, but I mean, you're talking about Steve Austin coming out of retirement. Can much be held up against that? I would say no. Probably an unfair argument.
Yeah, it's very different, isn't it? 39, Los Angeles.
It's 39. Usos and Zayn and Owens is a 5-starer for me. WrestleMania 39, I think, is the best WrestleMania ever. I think it's better than X7, and this is one of the reasons why.
I think this is 5 stars, by the way. This main event we just talked about, for me.
Do you know what? I think we've finally got there now. I think all the comparisons about those matches, while I would say were better, the real comparison is last year's main event, because that was very much the same deal. A whole lot of stuff before you get to the big drama. The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. That's the like-for-like comparison. And I will say, in my opinion, last night's Triple Threat smoked that tag team match from WrestleMania 40. This is where we disagree, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the thing, is I loved this main event of night one. Just would have been better with The Rock in it. Everything is better with The Rock involved in it. And speaking of which, he's on the screens right now. Look at that gorgeous man and the amazing influence he's had on this goddamn business. You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. But I think it's, like I say, what I was going to say was I think this main event is right up there with all the others we've mentioned there. And yeah, I just loved it. And I know, like I say, it won't be for certain people in terms of, they're just spamming finishing kickouts and they're doing all this melodrama and Paul Heyman's face. I understand. If that's not for you, that's absolutely fine. Wrestling is subjective. It was a wonderful night to be Adam Wilbourn in that main event.
This is it, right? Like, I watch more WWE especially for these reveals and big dramatic moments, and whether it's the rug pulls or the celebrations or all that. I want that included with the price of my ticket and with the price of my investment. The year-long investment is for moments like this. I'm in full defence and support of pretty much everything that happened in the last 8 minutes of this match. I can't sit here and say all 32 were the best I've ever seen, but ultimately, when I feel like my chase or my run or whatever, or the million ideas that were put out there, when I see and feel like those have been paid off, I have zero complaints, and that's what this gave you at the very end.
I might have had a bit of a smug tweet about 5 minutes into this match, or even 5 minutes into their bloody entrances, saying, remember when people said these three shouldn't main event WrestleMania? Guess they're feeling pretty stupid right about now. These guys absolutely smashed it in there. And you always talk about yourself and Sidge about how wrestling is the best when it does the end of the world this Saturday. Yeah. Join us next week for the end of the world. Huge WrestleMania, end of the sort of story arc for these. Right now, what happens now? Paul Heyman is aligned with Seth Rollins, or Seth Rollins is aligned with that snake, as everyone in the crowd kept telling me for what went down yesterday. Paul Heyman. I would love to know your thoughts on it. Let us know in the comments section below, or on X at WhatCulture WWE. Where you can follow, all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
You can follow our brilliant producer Adam Nicholas at
It's Adam Nicholas.
And you can follow me at Adam Wilbourn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, as I said. Make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts and more fallout across WrestleMania weekend and beyond. But for now, this has been the WrestleMania 41 Night 1 review. My thanks to Michael Hamflett. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.